Hello everybody, welcome to Wilderspool Stadium for this crunch match, first game of 1994. Warrington at home to the visitors, Wigan. Warrington top of the league, Wigan challenging strongly. Warrington in front on points, but Wigan with games in hand. Now, straight away, I'll run through the visitors for you. The Wigan team are lining up Joe Lydon, Jason Robinson, Barry John Mather, Gary Connolly, Martin Afire, Sam Panapa, Fran Obotica, Kel Skerritt, Martin Dermott, Andy Platt, Neil Cowie, Andy Farrell and Phil Clark. Subbing for the Riversiders, Mick Cassidy and Dennis Betts. Now then, straight into Brian Johnson's team. Table topping at the moment, we have Lee Penny, Mark Forster, Alan Bateman, Jonathan Davis, Rob Myler, Kevin Ellis, Captain Greg Mackey, Craig Teitzel, John Thursfield, Roland Phillips, Paul Cullen, Mike Gregory, Kelly Shelford and subs Mark Hilton and Dave Elliott. I'll quickly give you the mascot details. We have with us today 10 years old Matthew Devine. Matthew attends Sacred Heart School and his hobbies are rugby and swimming. Favourite player, guess who? Jonathan Davis. Thanks to Matthew's parents for supplying him for today's game. He's had a great day meeting the directors on this day of days at Wilderspool, and thanks to everybody concerned for allowing us this magnificent viewpoint at Sky Television. Today's match referee, as I've already mentioned, Mr Russell Smith, who is a top-rated rugby league referee in Great Britain, and during our close season he officiated in the Trans-Tasman Test Series. We're almost ready to go. Cannot overstress the importance of this game. Warrington have been touted as the new kings of rugby league. Wigan came here a fortnight ago and stuffed them completely. We're going to see a different Warrington today. Brian Johnson's had his troops away, looked at the video and has looked at a couple of points. I was lucky enough to see Wigan and St Helens last week at Central Park, a 29,000 crowd. Watch Wigan snot St Helens, but that's all history. We're almost ready to go. Wigan starting the game. Joe Lydon with the first kick. Kicks long into the Warrington quarter. The ball comes down in goal. He's tidied up. Mark Forster comes out on the run. And a big tackle immediately from ex-Rochdale Hornet Neil Cowie. So Warrington then on their own try line. There's Alan Bateman taking a big shot. Kel Skerritt involved wearing 8. Warrington finding themselves pen right back. Here's John Thursfield. Missed a few games with an injury. Good to see him back. Skipper Greg Mackey comes away. Craig Teitzel, ex-Illawarra Steeler, hitting the ball up. Gary Connolly involved in the tackle. There's Paul Cullen, 13 full years in the First Division. What an achievement. Kel Skerritt throws a right hook at Greg Mackey. Russ Smith is on the job. Well, I tell you what, if you apply the letter of the law, there's a red card offence. However, we can probably expect one or two things to get out of hand today, such as the importance of the game. That's the first penalty of the afternoon then for the Warrington club. Jonathan Davis will look to kick to touch. For those of you who are watching this video in the Wigan area, your regular commentator, John McDermott, is away in Ireland on his holidays, so he'll have to make do with me, Bill Stewardson. Now then, here's John Thursfield, a full set of 6 for the Warrington club. Bit of a mix-up. Roland Phillips drives into opposite number Andy Platt. First tackling here in the early stages at a packed Wilderspool Stadium. Mackey's unloaded for Teitzel. Teitzel going hard. Had an outstanding game at Norton Park 7 days ago. John Thursfield then activates Mike Gregory. Fran Obotica involved in the tackle. Thursfield once again. Here's Mackey. Paul Cullen looks for runners. It's Shelford. Alan Bateman does a juggling act. Afire and Connolly put a stop to the move. Warrington already playing brighter football than in the entire Regal Trophy game here at Wilderspool. Phillips looks to unload, finds Thursfield for Kevin Ellis. Ellis cuts, looks for a yard. Skerritt on the tackle. Warrington taking the ball closer to striking range. It is kick time. Look for the ball, it's away. Ball's coming in field. That's Kelvin Skerritt. Territorially and time in possession, Wigan running the game. There's a smart kick from Sam Panapa. There was a bit of consternation at Central Park when Panapa took Edwards' jersey, but since he's been in the team, he's been running the show. We have another penalty for encroachment, I believe. Offside. We've got penalty count now reading 3-2 for John O's boys. Greg Mackey with his hands on his hips. Looks as though he might have took a bit of a knock. Jonathan Davis will look to put long yardage onto the penalty. Ball just dips in front of our commentary position. And here's John Thursfield. Thursfield then for Craig Teitzel. Super tackle, Skerritt and Platt. Thursfield acting half as ever. Throws infield for Greg Mackey. Roland Phillips twisting in the tackle. Cowie and Clark complete. Here's Mackey then, looking for options. Finds Alan Bateman. Tackles being used up, little yardage being gained. There's a bit of a kerfuffle at the play the ball. Match official has awarded the penalty to the Warrington club. Let's have a look at the penalty count then. It goes 4-2 for the home team, the Wire. We've had 6 penalties in 12 minutes. Warrington declining the chance to put the 2 points on the board. Davis kicking for touch. Warrington club then will have 6 full tackles from on the quarter line, finding themselves 4 points to 0 down. Needs to get on the score sheet quickly. Roland Phillips steams in. Cal Skerritt involved with Cowie. Warrington stack up deep left. Mike Gregory comes on a short run and takes an upstairs tackle. 3 cherry and white jerseys there. Mike Gregory plays the ball. It's a short side run, Craig Teitzel. Teitzel spins through 2 tackles, drives in, 3 metres short. There's a bit of kerfuffle once again, and I believe Wigan coming up in possession. So Warrington at least pinning back the Riversiders in their own quarter. Martin Afire, try scorer, takes the tackle. Listen to the roar go around Wilderspool Stadium. Ball goes midfield, that's Kelvin Skerritt. Craig Teitzel's got a grip of him, exacts the tackle, super style. Wigan being made to work hard then to pick up the yards. Phil Clark unloads for Barry John Mather. Wigan break the quarter line. That's Sam Panapa wearing 6. Gary Connolly had a hand in the opening try. That looks a forward pass. Kelly Shelford has a go at Frano Botica. Anywhere ball will result in a scrum down. 1-0 for the Riversiders. Imperative that Warrington take the ball here to get the set of 6 to try and build the attack. Ball comes out for the Warrington club. Scrum count 1 apiece. Here's Alan Bateman. Clark and Panapa in the tackle. Warrington stacked deep left. Look for the ball to go infield. Mackey orchestrating the troops. Here's Kevin Ellis. Ellis scooting across the defence. Short ball Lee Penny. Also lives in the Wigan area. Former Old St James amateur. Will play the ball for Kevin Ellis. Roland Phillips looks for options, none forthcoming, takes the tackle. So Warrington edging closer and closer to the quarter line, but tackles being used up. Score remains 0-4. We'll look at the clock in the 16th minute. Craig Teitzel drives at the quarter line. Here's Mackey. Mackey looks for runners, puts in a short kick, tidied up safely at the back. Frano Botica doing a super job there, sweeping up. Looks to have been knocked in the tackle. Game progresses, no stoppages in Pro Rugby League. Big tackle breaks out midfield involving John Thursfield. Jason Robinson, that must be one of John Dorahy's little tricks today. Bring Robinson inside, stretch the cover. There's Dermot, unleashes a great ball. Wigan keeping it alive, super style. It's with Gary Connolly. Bateman in the tackle with Kelly Shelford, who was declared fit after a fitness test this afternoon. Andy Platt then. How Wigan will replace him, I just don't know. There's Botica's unloaded. Joe Lydon supplies the kick. It's the chess game, 5 drives and a kick. Most of the action will take place in each team's quarter. Look for the Flyers to break the deadlock. Wigan have probably got the edge in the forwards. I feel that Warrington's backs can at least match Wigan's. Here's a super run from Lee Penny. Looking at the quarter line, gets there super style. Delayed at the play the ball. Russ Smith awards the penalty. Wigan will have to learn, get out of it in the tackle. Penalty count starts to look lopsided. 5-2 for the Warrington club. Still only the 1 score in the game. Thursfield activates Mike Gregory, former Great Britain skipper. Now in his testimonial year, get down to Tetley Walkers Club on the 20th of January. The Rugby League Express Roadshow. I'll be there, should be a good night. So then, Warrington starting to keep the ball tied in, spending more time in possession. Here's Shelford. Jonathan Davis for Lee Penny. Connolly's got a grip. End of move. Mark Forster goes to acting half, throws the ball infield. There's Paul Cullen. Cullen will eventually play the ball. Warrington with personnel stacked left and right. It is Greg Mackey. Puts in another kick, tidied up safely. Frano Botica seems to be operating as a spare fullback. Wigan look to Bill Longman. There's Kel Skerritt going central. Three-man Warrington tackle. Edge of the seat stuff still at Wilderspool Stadium. There's Andy Platt crashing onto the ball. Wigan moving it out wide at every opportunity. Neil Cowie cuts, goes midfield, ball comes out. Possession for the Warrington club. A fire on the tackle. So it's end-to-end stuff. There's a bit of a shot on Ellis. Meanwhile, Bateman's going. Bateman looks to evade Connolly, has done so. Andy Farrell gets in on the tackle at the third attempt. Super run Bateman. So the ball goes midfield again. Warrington looking to launch runners. That is Kelly Shelford. Yardage lost on the play and the ball comes out. Russ Smith lets play go on, correctly in my view. Phil Clark was on a short side run. Barry John Mather. Warrington defenders queuing up to get at Mather. Ball goes midfield again. It's Andy Platt. Super Rugby League on show here at Wilderspool. Lee Penny on the tackle there with Craig Teitzel. There's a mix-up at the play. The ball. Russ Smith has awarded the penalty to the visitors for interference. Have a look at the penalty count. Now goes 5-3 in favour of the Wire. I'm sure that Mr. Botica will look to put 2 on the board here, put a full score in the game. For once the commentator's correct. Frano Botica then. Warrington have welcomed back for this game John Thursfield, as I've said he had been absent for a few weeks. Dave Elliott's reappeared on the subs bench after his wrist injury, picked up at the suicidal night at Wakefield Trinity. John Thursfield, I'm informed, has had cortisone injections before today's game. That's how much Brian Johnson values his non-stop tackling. Looking through the Wigan team, I like to pick players out. To be quite honest with you, it's difficult to leave anybody out. Whatever. Botica looking to make the score 6 points to 0. We're now in the 20th minute, just on quarter time. Difficult-ish chance for Botica. Strikes well. Touch judges. Signified that the goal is good. Score goes 6 points to 0. So now then, there is a converted score in the game thanks to that Botica penalty in the 20th minute. Score reads 0-6. Warrington were just starting to edge back into the game. I think you can fairly say Wigan had the best of the first 10. Warrington were running the show in the second 10. Uncharacteristic handling errors from both teams, but the game should start to settle down from this point. Joe Lydon coughs it up. Kelly Shelford's there first on the chase. Ellis and Bateman effect the tackle, 2 Welshmen together. That ball was not played correctly. Neil Cowie spinning through tackles. Wigan taking the ball 6 metres outside their red zone. Martin Dermott picks up good yardage running. There's a super run. Kel Skerritt, blockbusting run job, brought to an end by Kelly Shelford. We have another whistle. Looks to me as though a knock-on was committed there at the play of the ball. Russ Smith, as ever, missing nothing, awards the scrum down with advantage for the Wire. Scrum count will now go 2-1 in favour of the home team. Now in the 22nd minute, Greg Mackey then throws infield for half-back partner Kevin Ellis, scoots across the defence. Lee Penny takes man and ball. Joe Lydon getting up into the tackle, 4 metres short of the half. Here's Ellis. Paul Cullen driving hard. Roland Phillips then backing up. Ball comes out once again. Thanks to Driveline specialists for kindly donating today's match ball. Club sponsors at Wilderspool being Green Arrows. There's a tackle in midfield. Martin Dermott activates Andy Farrell. Warrington once again on defence. Ball is 2 metres inside the Warrington half. Dermott throws a slightly forward-looking pass. Phil Clark, wearing the scrum cap, takes a tackle from Mike Gregory. Dermott throws through again for Botica, who's unloaded. Here's Neil Cowie. Here's Botica once again, looks at Andy Platt, goes off on the run, puts in a kick. Bit of an incident in the defensive line. Mark Forster with Martin Afire stamping all over him, takes possession. Mark Forster saving his club there. There's Penny, Greg Mackey, throws a long ball out. Kevin Ellis, head back sprinting, takes a two-man tackle. Greg Mackey acting half. Mackey off on a short clearing run. Lee Penny evades the high shot from Andy Farrell, and Andy Platt completes the tackle. So it's Thursfield. Craig Teitzel throws infield. There's a bit of a juggling act from the Warrington skipper Greg Mackey. Wigan have possession in striking range. Barry John Mather stitching yards onto the header. Wigan setting up play deep left. Look for runners everywhere. Roar comes out from the Wigan supporters. There's Dermott, super tackle. Gary Connolly. Connolly steps. Mark Foster supplies the crash tackle. Red line defence time now then for Brian Johnson's men. Wigan pressing hard. Carl Skerritt goes solo. Super tackle from Alan Bateman. Warrington with their backs to the wall in every sense of the word. That is Phil Clark, Frano Botica. Andy Platt comes on the short run. Craig Teitzel with the tackle. It is kick time for John Dorahy's men. Look for the Skyer. Pressure will be applied. Martin Dermott, abortive drop goal, and Mike Gregory tidies up. Would have expected the Wigan club to make better use of a full set of six in no circumstances. Warrington holding out well. There's Kevin Ellis. Paul Cullen. Short clearing run. Andy Platt arrives, brings a big load with him, puts an end to the move. Roland Phillips, well, the ball's coming out repetitively. Warrington cannot afford to keep spilling the ball. Scrum down with advantage for the Riversiders. Scrum count will go 2 apiece, and Wigan will get another set of 6 from within the red zone. So Mark Hilton has come onto the park. Mark Hilton also from the Wigan area, from the same amateur club as Lee Penny. Scrums are 2 apiece. My apologies, I didn't see him snuck off. Barry John Mathers come in. Super scrambling defence from the Warrington club. Joe Lydon, Sam Panapa, Gary Connolly. Shelford in the tackle. Warrington holding out well, but they must start keeping the ball tied in. There's Botica. Long ball. Barry John Mathers switch sides. For once a Wigan attacking move breaks down, and Alan Bateman exacts a super tackle. Let's consult the onboard computer now in the 26th minute. Martin Afire. According to the pundits, he'll be up for sale soon. If you can afford to give him $2,000 a week, you can have him. Here's Dermott. Andy Platt. Greg Mackey getting involved in the tackle. Wigan setting play up, personnel left and right. It could be a drop goal attempt from Martin Afire. He should stick to running. Jonathan Davis looks to tidy up, gets a great ball out for Rob Myler. Myler cuts in field. Warrington attacking, great style out of defence. And there's an awful looking tackle, should have been penalised, wasn't. Paul Cullen takes man and ball. Warrington 6 points down, but look so far going their way. And as soon as I say that, the ball's out again. Well, that's 3 times now in about 5 minutes that the ball has come out. Could be a touch of nerves in the Warrington ranks. Expect the scrum count to go 3-2 in favour of the Riversiders. I'm told it's Roland Phillips who's been subbed for Mark Hilton. Scrum count duly goes 3-2. Frano Botica releases a pass. Gary Connolly gets the ball away. Wigan looking good. Martin Afire is battered by just about everybody. Lee Penny enjoying the party. Sam Panapa goes to acting half. Panapa throws in field. That is Phil Clark. Warrington's defence putting on a sterling show at this point, taking tackle after tackle. Neil Cowie. Craig Teitzel comes in with a block-busting tackle, assisted by Paul Cullen. Here's Dermott, spots a yard, attacks it. Short ball for Kelvin Skerritt, leading with the elbow. 3-man Warrington tackle. Wigan inching closer and closer. I'm looking for a kick time sign. It is not forthcoming. Panapa then, short ball Phil Clark. crash tackle, Mike Gregory. It is now kick time for the Riversiders, just 6 points in the game. 12 minutes to the hooter. Connolly looks for the dropper. If anything, that was worse than Martina fires. Warrington breathe again. Anyhow, Warrington have coughed the ball up 2 or 3 times. The defence has withstood the pressure. Here comes Mark Forster. Super entertainment for everybody here at Wilderspool. Apologies to everybody who couldn't gain entry today. There must have been a couple of thousand people turned away. No point turning up at Wilderspool at 2:45. Anyhow, Greg Mackey made field. Kelly Shelford looks for options, takes the tackle. Warrington must keep it tied in. Shelford, thinking brain, comes into action there, plays it to himself, scoots away, breaks the half. Here's Thursfield. Greg Mackey. Super ball for Shelford. Shelford cutting and jinking midfield. Neil Cowie supplies the tackle. Warrington starting to get within striking range. Warrington players claiming a penalty. Russ Smith duly obliges. Wigan supporters behind the post away to our right, enjoying that. There's a decision for Warrington. 2 on the board, or try the running move. Personally, I'd like to see Davis attempt the kick. Don't want to see Warrington spilling the ball. Give everyone 5 minutes to have a breather. And Jonathan Davis will in fact attempt the 2 points. Wigan supporters howling their abuse at Russ Smith. Sure they'll enjoy that. I'm just looking down the team list. Jonathan Davis leading the point scoring charts in the Rugby League this season. So Davis then, difficult-ish, maybe 38 metres out. Kicking to the mass Wigan supporters at the Spine Cup end here at Wilderspool Stadium. This game going out on Sky tonight at 9 o'clock. I'm sure many of the people here will be down the boozer to review the action, and I'll be one of them. So here's Davis then, looking to open Warrington's scoring account. He's wide left. So now then, the Riversiders will drop out from the quarter line. Bit of professionalism coming in there, time wasting. Joe Lydon then, normally doing this job, today playing. Kicks along in central. Mike Gregory comes out on the run. He's tackled immediately. Brilliant tackle, Phil Clark. Here's Paul Cullen. Looks for the winger. Rob Myler duly obliges. Breaks the half. That is the halfway line, right down the middle of your screen. 6 in the game. Not far off half-time now. Another crash tackle. Less than 10 minutes to the hooter. Would do Warrington's confidence a world of good to get a try on the board before the hooter comes. Kelly Shelford looks to instigate just that. Phil Clark on the tackle. Here's Thursfield. Craig Teitzel crops up in the centres. Busts the line. Paul Cullen's going. Jason Robinson with the tackle, and the ball comes out. To come out, meanwhile, here's Andy Platt going central. Plays the ball. Andy Farrell wearing 12. Opposite number Mike Gregory on the tackle. Here's Cowie. Not had a score now since the 20th minute, just the one try in the 5th minute. Still everything to play for. Phil Clark spinning through 2 tackles there. Looking at the halfway line, it is kick time. The ball's put into the pocket. Rob Myler went through a burst of try scoring in recent weeks. Could do with one right now for his club. Goes out on a great clearing run. He's tackled at the quarter line. Here's Mark Hilton. I believe we've had a whistle from Russ Smith for incorrect marking. Penalty count 7-3 for the Wire. Scrum count 3-2 for the Riversiders. Scoreboard reads Warrington 0, Wigan 6 in the 33rd minute. So Davis puts the yardage onto the penalty then. is John Thursfield will eventually restart proceedings. Russ Smith's not happy with something. As usual, we've got 33 footballs on the field. Now we can get underway. Here's Mackey. Kelly Shelford kicks early. That must be a planned move. Kicking there on the second tackle. Jason Robinson needs to be tackled in goal and isn't. So Robinson will play the ball then right at the try line. Red line defence now for the Wigan club. Warrington players queuing up to get into the tackle. Paul Cullen was in first on Joe Lydon. There's Robinson. Robinson being carted backwards. Superb pressure defence there from the Warrington club, from Cullen and Ellis. Robinson gets up somewhat groggily. Wigan making absolutely no yardage. Warrington's performance 50% better than the Regal Trophy game already. Having said that, here's Farrell. Connolly has space. Mackey's trying to get back. The ball's flicked inside. Gary Connolly retakes the pass. Dazzling rugby league skills. Martin afire. Overrun the ball. Russ Smith on the job. Play will develop. Jonathan Davis comes out. Jonathan Davis has made the break. Tremendous tackle, Andy Platt. Superb attacking rugby league out of defence from both the teams on view. What a game. Greg Mackey then throws a long sloppy ball in field. Shelford tidies up. That's Mike Gregory. Paul Cullen's going and Cowie exacts the tackle. Now you're seeing why this ground is bursting. Two of the most exciting teams in the rugby league on view for you. Andy Farrell wearing 12 in the tackle there. Many thousands of Warrington supporters were contemplating jumping in the Mersey after the Regal Trophy game. Will be heartened by this performance. There's Kevin Ellis. John Thursfield for Greg Mackey. Mackey on top of his game, sprinting across the defence, looks for options. Alan Bateman supplies one. Bateman goes into the red zone, and Frano Botica tidies up. Can't fault the Warrington attack for trying to keep the ball alive, but the defence now needs to get back. So then, the ball's still being spilled at regular intervals by both teams. There's Kel Skerritt. Craig Teitzel putting him away. Exciting game now at Wilderspool Stadium. Andy Platt, Great Britain's regular prop. Crash tackle by Craig Teitzel. Teitzel working like a Trojan on defence. There's Sam Panapa. Wigan starting to pick up less and less yardage with every drive. Martin Dermott looks for Kel Skerritt. Skerritt on a bulldozing run, tackled at the half. Tackle's being used up. It is kick time. Look for the positional kick into the pocket. There's a rarity. Barry John Mather with a kick. Kel Skerritt. It will be a turnover. Warrington then now have 4 minutes to get on the scoreboard before the hooter. There's Shelford attempting to drag the defence with him, unable to so do. So Alan Bateman there has been a bit of an indiscretion at the play the ball. Penalty to the Warrington club. Penalties 8-3. Jonathan Davis will put long yardage onto the penalty. Warrington should get a set of 6 tackles here from within the Riversiders' red zone. As I've said, time running out in the first half. It's been even Stevens, nail-biting stuff. Warrington's confidence could do with the boost of a score right here. Mark Hilton, former Oddle St James amateur, is tackled 10 metres from the Riversiders' try line. Wigan supporters find the voice. Big tackle midfield. Warrington stacked deep left. Look for the ball to go through Mackey. Suspicions of a knock-on. Match official missed that one. Game progressing quite nicely, thank you. Mackey unloads. There's Paul Cullen looking for his old centre position. Jonathan Davis. Super tackle from Frano Botica. Kevin Ellis acting half. Here's Mackey. Mackey looking for options. Unloads for Alan Bateman. Super defensive cover from John Dorra, his men. Warrington pressing hard. Red line defence time from Wigan. There's Kelly Shelford. Warrington keeping it alive, great style. Kevin Ellis. Wigan seem to have 17 men on defence. It is kick time. May well be worth a 1-point attempt. No, Warrington will try and launch the runners. Mackey puts a kick in. And Joe Lydon saves the day. Excellent rugby league all round there. Joe Lydon playing the ball. Jason Robinson Every time he's had the ball today, he's been splattered immediately. Playing the ball. I believe that's Barry John Mather. Paul Cullen on the tackle. Bit of a mix-up at the play. The ball. Russ Smith letting it go. Jason Robinson once again coming in for the heavy shots from Teitzel and Hilton. Here's Dermot. Long silky pass. Wigan looking to launch runners. Andy Farrell has got super pace for a bloke his size. It is now kick time. Let's look at the clock as Connolly kicks. Less than 2 to the hooter. 6 points only in the game. Rob Myler. Barry John Mather on the tackle. Here's Hilton. Mark Hilton tackled. 27 metres out. Warrington using tackles up again, but starting to spend more and more time in possession. This game really could decide the outcome of the Stones Bitter Championship. That's how important it is. Kevin Ellis unable to take the pass. Panapa on the tackle. Here's Mackey. Lifts a kick. Exerting pressure on the Wigan defensive line. Ball goes out on the full to the sarcastic cheers of the travelling Wigan support. So then, here comes the restart on the quarter line. Try scorer Martin Afire supplies the ball. We now have 53 seconds to the hooter on my clock. Don't remember any injury time. Just the one full score in the game. Here's Andy Platt. Super tackle upon him from Paul Cullen. There's a whistle. More sarcastic cheers from the Wigan support. Interference at the play the ball. Penalty count goes 8-4 for Brian Johnson's men. Scrum count 3-2 for John Dorahy's men. Score 6-0 in favour of Wigan. Ball hoofed there onto the popular side here at Wilderspool Stadium. Martin Dermot activates Andy Platt. Warrington need to keep the defence together for another 30 seconds. Ball goes midfield through Botica. Kelvin Skerritt double tackled. Thursfield involved. Dermot then, short pass for Phil Clark. There's Andy Farrell, driving at the quarter line. Tackles in hand for the Wigan club. Just gone into the Warrington red zone, that's Neil Cowie. I'm looking for a kick time sign, it is not forthcoming. Here's Panapa. Gary Connolly comes on the inside run. Wigan inching it closer and closer, must be worth a drop goal attempt. Wigan want more than that. Short kick in goal. Mark Foster takes no chances. That should just about see out this entertaining first half. We've now had half a minute of injury time. Just the one score between the teams, a fair reflection. Hopefully in the second half both the teams will start to keep the ball tied in, cut out the handling errors, and we'll see a game to remember. Bit of abuse rolling down from the Fletcher end, don't know what that's about. As you can see on the terraces, there isn't enough room there to fit a tin of sardines in. Davis kicks long as ever. I'm wondering where the hooter is. Ball is gathered in by Jason Robinson at the half. Sets off on the run and he's promptly hammered by Mackey and Cullen. Phil Clark goes to acting half. Warrington on the back foot, Wigan attacking. Paul Cullen exacts a second tackle. There's the half-time hooter. What an excellent first half that was. Just the one try in the 5th minute from Martin Afire. Gives us a half-time score here at a packed Wilderspool Stadium. Warrington 0 and Wigan 6. Welcome back to Wilderspool Stadium then for this micro video production of the Stones Bitter Championship game. most important game of the season so far, where Wigan are the visitors, leading 6-0 thanks to that Martin Offiah try in the 5th minute. Well, but that's it. If I can sort through my paperwork, we'll pay the rent. Thanks to Driveline Specialist for today's match ball, Alfred Jones Limited for the match sponsorship, programme sponsored by Jung Herich Limited and Silcox Fair associate sponsorship. Thanks to all of the above. Without those, first-class rugby league would not be taking place at Wilderspool Stadium. Now then, I believe that Joe Lydon has left the field for Wigan. Gary Connolly has been drafted in at full-back. There you see him on your screen doing his job, and I'll fill you in on who's come on as soon as I spot him. Meanwhile, Andy Farrell comes out on the run, breaks the quarter line. Just the one converted score in the game. Here's Kelvin Skerritt, had an outstanding first half. The Warrington club doing most of their work on defence, haven't had a chance to show the attack. There's a whistle straight away. Ironic cheers again from the travelling Wigan support. Penalties going 8-5. Illegal marking on that occasion. Long yardage stitched onto the penalty. Martin Offiah's keeping hold of the ball while he's got a chance. Bit of professionalism coming in again, time wasting. However, Offiah goes off on a short run. He's tackled immediately by Mike Gregory. Ball goes in field. Sam Panapa unloads. Botica, Farrell, Cullen in the tackle, assisted by Kevin Ellis. If Wigan were to score a converted try now, I think it would be a bit of a mountain for the Warrington club to climb. There's Neil Cowie taking a forward pass. Match official stood 10 yards the wrong side of play, which is what they're supposed to do. Explain that to me. Missed that one. Here's Dermott, Botica, Panapa. Excellent handling. Kel Skerritt runs into 3 Warrington defenders. Wigan again playing the percentage game, playing the game where they want it to be played. Here's Panapa, puts in a kick. Warrington have learned from the Regal Trophy game, have got defenders back sweeping up. Now there's a decision for Russ Smith. Warrington looking to launch a runner, it'll all come to nothing. The whistle has in fact gone. And what is Russ Smith deciding upon? He's deciding that Rob Myler was tackled in goal. Seems fair enough to me. A scrum there with a Wigan feed would have been a disaster. Here's Jonathan Davis then to put yards onto said penalty. Now in the 3rd minute of the second half, Davis has ever kicks long. Excellently taken. Here's Phil Clark. Clark going infield. Craig Teitzel supplying the tackle. Dermott acting half. Here's Neil Cowie. 3-man Warrington defence once again. 4 metres short of the quarter line. Wigan supporters finding good voice. Here's Platt. Super tackle upon him from Paul Cullen. Wigan threatening, looking ominously close again. Panapa, drop-off ball, Botica. Farrell goes on the burst. Excellent scrambling defence. I'm looking for the kick time sign from Russ Smith. It is not forthcoming. Wigan with runners everywhere. It's Kel Skerritt. Lee Penny finishes off the tackle. It is kick time then. Look for a chip into the in-goal area. The ball goes to ground and the move dies. I have been talking to 2 Wigan supporters away to my right. Their opinion is that the game will be a repeat of the Regal Trophy. Well, I beg to differ. Warrington look a lot sharper to me today. Here's Thursfield, Paul Cullen, Phil Clark involved in the tackle. Warrington playing the game at the wrong end of the field then. Craig Teitzel takes a huge shot from Platt, gets the ball out. Thursfield, there's a heart stopper for everybody. Here's Shelford. Shelford cuts, his tackle first shot. Dermott on the tackle. Ball goes infield again for skipper Greg Mackey. Mackey runs into a red and white wall. Warrington boxed in, kick time. Have to put the ball long into the opposing red zone. Look for Davis to do just that. Davis trots up, supplies the kick, splits the winger and acting fullback Gary Connolly. £250,000 worth of centre, operating at fullback. Super tackle Alan Bateman. Martin Offiah goes to acting half. Ball goes infield for Phil Clark. Craig Tytzel and Mark Hilton. It is essential, as I've already said, that Warrington get some sort of score on the board before Wigan score again. Robinson, battered midfield. Pat Wilderspool, 12,000 pairs of eyes glued to this game. Anything could happen. Here's Skerritt, Thursfield at him, gets the ball away. Warrington's defence looking good at this point. Here's Andy Platt, unloads. Barry John Mathers going. Barry John Mathers siding through the defence. Lee Penny saves his club. Well, there was a siding run from Barry John Mather. For the size of that bloke, he can shift. Last-ditch scrambling defence. Warrington stay in the game, but we've got a touch judge intervening. Don't know what's gone on. Must have been something in backfield. My apologies, I missed that completely. Russ Smith is awarding a scrum down. Must assume there was a knock on there somewhere. So the scrum count goes 3 apiece. Here's Ellis. Mike Gregory then, as I've already mentioned, lives in the Wigan area. Will have to put one over on his hometown club. Still time for that to happen. Mark Hilton rampaging. Andy Platt with the tackle, and we have a whistle again. Scrum goes to the Riversiders. Must have been a knock on in the big tackle from Andy Platt. So there is the scrum to Wigan. Scrums go 4-3 for them. Connolly on the run. Craig Tytzel again involved in the tackle. Wigan pressing. Here's Neil Cowie, former Hornet, looking to unload. Gets the ball away, touched by a Warrington player, Frano Botica. Well, Russ Smith has had a perfect afternoon this far in, but I think you may have heard on the side of caution there. The ball did not look to be knocked forward. However, advantage at the scrum down will go to Brian Johnson's Warrington, currently riding high at the top of the league. If they're going to stay there, must win today. Jonathan Davis hasn't seen much of the ball today. Here's Ellis, Paul Cullen, Kel Skerritt and Platt effect the tackle. Thanks once again to Sky TV for allowing us this vantage point. Andy Platt with a big shot there on Craig Tytzel. Tytzel gets up, plays the ball for Thursfield. Here's Mackey, cuts. Andy Farrell in the tackle. And we've got a little bit of a high shot in the tackle there. Russ Smith jumps straight in, separates Cullen and Platt. Use of the elbow alleged. Penalty goes to the Riversiders within kicking range. Penalties are 8-6. Now Frano Botica has the opportunity to put Wigan more than a full score in front. Would be a huge psychological blow to Brian Johnson's team if that were possible. Not sure that Botica's going to try the kick. Would be somewhat perplexing if he didn't. So the commentators perplexed. Botica will kick for touch. Don't understand that myself. There's no wind about today. But for all that, Wigan will have a set of 6 from the quarter line. Red line defence time once again. All the ball has been Wigan's this far in. Andy Platt bursts into the defensive line. Dermot acting half. There's the Wigan support. Skerritt there. Craig Tytzel on the tackle. End of move. 2 tackles gone, 4 to go. Good field position. There's Panapa looking for options. Another tackle used up. Barry John Mather acting half. We have an injury, I feel. Game goes on. Mather goes solo, uses up another tackle. Huge pressure being applied then to the Warrington defensive line. There's Dermot, Botica, Clark, mix up, Hall in the way. Cowie in the way, my apologies. Tackles being used up there needlessly. Here's Frano Botica, forward looking pass to Cowie. Lee Penny completes the job and we will have a turnover. So once again, you can't fault Warrington's effort on defence. We're standing a set of 6 from within the quarter. Mike Gregory spots the gap in the defence, picks up 8 metres running. Andy Farrell in the tackle. Time ticking by. Warrington need to get field position. There's Mark Hilton, being wrestled to the ground. Now in the 50th of 80, just one converted score in the game. Paul Cullen, tackle there, 10 metres short of the half. Warrington have had little opportunities to show their attacking options. There's Mackey. Mike Gregory takes the tackle. Wigan's game plan appears to be tackle everything in sight, and they are doing just that. There's a big tackle. 15, Dennis Betts is on the park. My apologies, I've not seen who went away. Betts on the tackle there. Here's Mackie, no option but to kick. Chips midfield. Here's Jason Robinson. Super tackle there. Mark Hilton. It's Andy Platt. Clark with his head down, sprinting. Tackled at the half. Jonathan Davis involved in the tackle. Mather. Here's Betts. A lot of eyebrows were raised at all around the Rugby League when Dennis Betts was omitted from the Wigan first team. Getting his chance today, and an ooh comes in from just about everywhere in the ground. Shot must have been delivered in the tackle. Well, this is definitely within kicking range. Greg Mackey's getting the ticking off. Another penalty for the Wigan club. Penalty count evening up, now 8-7 for the Warrington club, and this will be 2 points on the board. So Frano Botica finding himself 30 metres out, maybe 32, fairly central, as I've already said. Weather conditions are good for kicking. Lights on at Wilderspill now, deepening gloom. First match of 1994. The Rugby League title could be decided right here and now. This would put more than a full score in the game, should Botica be successful. He's not been at his kicking best in recent weeks, but I would expect him to convert now. Well, whatever the commentator says, the other thing happens. Warrington breathe again. Still just a full score in the game. And it's got to be said, if Warrington were to nick this game, you'd have to look at the goal kicker. Anyway, that's John Dorahy's job, not mine. Jonathan Davis then will look to drop out from the quarter line. Warrington wobbled 2 games previous to the Widnes game. Were on something of a roll, put it right at Norton Park, need to affect the win today. No harder opposition than the men in the red and white. There's Dermot. Neil Cowie disappears under 3 blue and yellow shirts. Cowie plays the ball, or does he? Russ Smith has seen fit to award another penalty. Holding down. Penalties 8 apiece. Scrum count 4 apiece. Score 0-6. If Warrington are to claw their way back into this game, they need to get field position and keep the discipline good. No good giving penalties away. The thing's hard enough as it is. Frano Botica sticks his yards onto the penalty. Wigan looking for the quick restart. Here's Skerritt. Craig Teitzel and Mark Hilton effect the tackle. Andy Platt then. Platt making good yardage. Cullen and Mackie on the tackle. 4 tackles to go. Ball's at the quarter line. Wigan a full score in front. There's Cowie. Swaps passes. Dennis Betts crops up out wide. Lee Penny putting a stop to the run. There's Dermot. Panapa. Short ball. Phil Clark. Crash tackle. Craig Teitzel. Massive defence there from Teitzel. Phil Clark getting up somewhat groggily, and I am not surprised. The match officials having words. Awards a scrum down. Advantage for the Warrington club. Expect the scrum count to go 5-4 in favour of the home team. There it goes. Here's Lee Penny. Frano Botica affects the tackle. Warrington once again have the football 80 yards from where they need to be. Cullen disappears under Platt. Time ticking by. 54th of 80 now. There's Thursfield. 3-man Wigan tackle. Mackie. Gregory. Platt and Mather in the tackle. Thursfield. Ellis bottled up there by Cowie and Farrell respectively. John Thursfield acting half once again, all quiet at Wilderspill Stadium. The game in the balance. Davis lifts Seskaya. Gary Connolly, emergency fullback, stands off, and the ball is gathered in after a snap pass. Possession for the Wigan club in their own red zone. Warrington need to prevent the drives picking up yards now and look to take possession from the kick. Gary Connolly, tackled by Myler and Ellis. Wigan throwing it about in their own red zone. Robinson looks to go on the break. Mark Forster almost taking possession, spilling the ball. A fire going nowhere, tackled immediately. Here's Robinson. Tricky character, well tackled by Thursfield and Shelford. Warrington, as I've already said, must enforce the tackles quickly now, prevent Wigan picking up yardage. There's Teitzel finishing off the tackle. Andy Platt's been having a superb afternoon. Ball was never played. I would expect a penalty or a scrum at least. Good advantage for the home team. Russ Smith trots across. I'm still not sure. It will be a scrum down. Advantage for the Warrington club. That could be the break needed. Scrum count will go 6-4 for the wire. Russ Smith, World's #1 referee, unhappy with that. Warrington must get some points on the board, rapid style. There's Davis looking to do just that. Short ball, Alan Bateman. Forgot the ball then remembered it. Rob Myler will throw the ball infield. That's Davis. Ellis. Hilton spinning through tackles. Tackles being used up. Ball on the quarter line. Thursfield. Shelford. Shelford evading high shots. Tremendous run. Skerrett involved. Here's Mackey looking to activate the runners. Sloppy ball. Lee Penny. Options disappear in quick style. I'm looking for the kick sign from Russ Smith. It is not forthcoming. Greg Mackey looks for options. Needs to split the defence one way or another. Takes the tackle. Last tackle coming up. 4 metres to go. A full score in the game. Davis chips in goal. It's all on. Panic stations. Ball kicked out on the full. So it's all happening now at Wilderspool Stadium. Warrington starting to edge back into the game. I've found it difficult to launch attacks because you can't do it without the ball. However, they will now receive the ball, have a full set of 6. I'll have a look at the clock. 57th of 80. There is the long kick out. Ball allowed to bounce into touch, will be a scrum down. That was an iffy one to take. The main thing, of course, is that none of the Warrington players in fact touched the ball as it travelled over the touchline. So Warrington will in fact get the advantage. Scrum count will go 7-4. Right, better add because I've just wrote it down. Warrington, of course, still have Dave Elliott, pacey second rower on the bench. May see him introduced shortly. There's Betts wearing 15 in the tackle. Warrington starting to run out of time. Here's Mackey. Mike Gregory loses his footing. Mick Cassidy wearing 14 on the park. So both of the Riverside subs now in operation. There's Teitzel, gets a great ball away for Penny. Warrington trying every trick in the book and a few that ain't. Kevin Ellis eventually takes the tackle. Warrington just 5 metres inside the Wigan half then. John Thursfield takes a huge shot from Andy Farrell. The ball will come in field. It's Mackey. Cuts, releases. Alan Bateman. There's a Martin Afire knock on. Much to the delight of the Mass Warrington support on the far side. If he'd have took the ball, he'd have been history. However, things on the edge of play starting to go Warrington's way then. Getting more and more chances at keeping hold of the football and mounting attacks. Scrum count will go 8-4. Here's Ellis. Bateman. Jonathan Davis has got a running opportunity and he's using it. He's tackled just short of the quarter. Super tackle from Barry John Mather on that occasion. There's Ellis, cuts play, spots a yard. Warrington definitely surging then. Sam Panaper in the tackle. Well, there's a bit of a comedy play. Markers not stood in a straight line. Penalty for the Warrington club. Now, do you put 2 on the board or do you run it? I haven't liked to take the decision. Penalty count has gone 9-8 for the Warrington club. Jonathan Davis will put 2 points on the board for the Warrington club. Well, as I said in the first half of this Micron video production in the commentary, many thousands of Warrington fans stood looking glumly at the River Mersey after the Regal Trophy game can be heartened. Still plenty of time in this game. I'll look at the clock. We're on three-quarter time, 60 of 80 played, 6 points in the game at the moment. Davis looking to open Warrington's scoring account. In the last 5 or 6 minutes, Warrington have been running the show. We have not seen their three quarters given the space by this tremendous Wigan defence. Fitness will start to play a part in the game. Both of these teams are supremely fit, both got top-class coaches, and both capable of cleaning up on the silverware this season. However, Jonathan Davis now approaches. Ball needs to go over and does so. Score goes 2-6 in the 60th minute. So, we've not exactly had an avalanche of points here at Wilderspool Stadium, but the game has been absolutely enthralling for all of that. Just the one try in the 5th minute for Martin Afire, a Botica penalty in the 20th minute, and Davis has just put a penalty on the board in the 60th minute, gives us a score reading, Warrington 2, Wigan 6. Here's Gregory in his testimonial year, get out and support his cause. John Thursfield picking up good yardage. It's becoming notable now that Warrington are picking up 8 and 9 metres with every play the ball. Craig Teitzel bounces into the Wigan defensive line. Teitzel has had an outstanding game this far in. Here's Thursfield then. Hilton, snappy tackling on this occasion. Mick Cassidy wearing 14 involved. Wigan being pulled back, the regulation 10. There's Paul Cullen doing what he does best, hitting the ball up. Panepa in the tackle. It looks to be kick time. Jonathan Davis weighs up the options and supplies. Martin Afire collects on the quarter line. 3-man Warrington chase effects a great tackle. 4 in the game then. Who could ask for a more exciting game than this? Suspicions of a knock-on. Russ Smith let him play develop. 6 more tackles then for the Riversiders. Jason Robinson once again. Only way he can get the ball this afternoon is by coming in field. Mackey's involved in the tackle. There's the runners. Dennis Betts hammered. Crash tackle Craig Teitzel. Betts playing the ball. Game balanced on a knife edge. The game of the season. There's Cowie. Warrington's pressure defence coming into play. Look at this for an effort. Have a look at that. Whatever these blokes are getting paid, it simply isn't enough. Warrington starting to exert their hand upon the game then. There's Hilton getting involved in the party. Tackle on the quarter. Kick time. What an effort from the Warrington defence. 6 tackles. Wigan did not break the quarter. Still 4 in the game though. Mark Forster wearing 2. Scored his first try of the season at Widnes 7 days ago. Got a long way to get one now. 2 prop forwards get there first. Assisted by Dennis Betts. Wigan supporters finding their voices towards their team on. There's a high shot on Lee Penny. Russ Smith. Does he award the penalty? Awards the penalty. He's Scone. Makes the penalty count. Let's have a look. 10-8. Warrington running the ball. Alan Bateman tackled 4 metres shy of the halfway line. Here at a packed Wilderspool Stadium. And the move breaks down. Bit of a breakdown in communication somewhere there. Possession for the Riversiders, 6 tackles from halfway. There's Cowie again, he gets a super ball away. Mick Cassidy with the scrum cap, step in. Mick Cassidy threatening to go the whole way. Excellent run Cassidy, try-saving tackle Ellis. Wigan buzzing, it's Clark, get it. Barry John Mather commits a basic schoolboy type error and blows the attack. So there we go, both teams committing handling errors. There's a bit of kerfuffle here in my commentary position. I've got Barry John Mather's parents sat next to me, who did not enjoy the play. However, enough of the guffawing. Scrum count will now go 9-4 in favour of top of the table Warrington. We have a delay. Have a delay for something or other. I think the ball's gone on strike or gone flat or been eaten in the crowd or something. Here we go. Back to business. As I've said, penalty scrum count now 9-4. We have a whistle from Russ Smith. We have a penalty for the Warrington club. Things are starting to go Warrington's way. Penalties now read 11-8 for the Warrington club. Scrums 9-4 for the Warrington club. Score 2-6 for the Wigan club. 15 minutes left. 4 in the game. What more could you ask for? The headlines in the papers tomorrow will predict that Wigan will win everything from the boat race to the 3:15 at Ascot if they win today. But Warrington putting up a super show. Here's Thursfield. Cullen well tackled. Bit of kerfuffle in the tackle. Andy Platt involved. Things getting a bit hot. Another penalty for the Warrington club after all the mauling in the tackle. Penalty count starting to grow. 12-8 the penalties. Jonathan Davis has seen everything in rugby league. Will stitch long yardage on. I don't need to tell you, but I will anyway. A full score for the Warrington club now would give them a 2-point advantage. Wigan, I don't want to predict an onslaught from them, seem to have gone a bit flat-footed. Some of the sparkle has gone, and Warrington are keeping the ball tied in, no spillages. There's Teitzel, 3 Wigan forwards, battering immediately. Field position improving with every drive. Time running out, 4 in the game. The rugby league title could rest on this. Jonathan Davis, well tackled by Skerritt. Warrington edging closer and closer. Mike Gregory missed out for Paul Cullen. Cullen cuts inside for a clap. Cullen picking up great yardage. Takes a shot at the end of the run from Cassidy. Warrington pressing hard. Here's Ellis. Ellis delays the pass, takes a tackle from Panapa. It's kick time. Look for a skyer. Warrington need runners out wide. Somebody's got to supply the kick first of all. Mike Gregory's off like a train. Ball's taken on the try line. Gregory supplies the hit. The ball is still live. Warrington thought there the tackle had been effective. Russ Smith, the ball comes out. Well, things are definitely starting to go Warrington's way, and here's their best chance yet. Wigan have run 80% of the game this far in, but I tell you what, Warrington are definitely on the road. Scrum count will now go 10-4. Russ Smith was right there. Breakdown in communication in the Wigan defence. Warrington just 4 metres short. 4 points in the game. The next score could be crucial. Risky pass thrown there, and the ball comes out once again. Well, just when either team starts to press hard, the ball's being coughed up. There's Cowie steadying the ship, goes away, picks up big yardage, looking for a fire. Once again, the ball is coughed up. Both of these teams realise how important this game is and are trying their utmost. Craig Teitzel takes a high shot from Clark. Things are starting to run Warrington's way. The bounce of the ball, the odd 50-50 decision. Here's Mackey. Shelford runs across the defence, drags 2 defenders with him. Alan Bateman will throw the ball in field. Mark Hilton supplying good spade work. Excellent tackle. Barry John Mather assisted by Platt. This is Thursfield. Mackey timing the ball. Mike Gregory gets it away. Lee Penny passes the ball, and Warrington score the try. A tremendous try from Mark Forster in the 68th of 80 minutes. Super stuff. Jonathan Davis unable to convert from on the touchline. The score's 6 apiece. Nobody's allowed for that in the forecast, all the pundits and everything. I don't suppose a draw's a good result for either club, but on balance it would suit the Riversiders more than the Wales. Now then, Alan Bateman comes tearing out. Things have started to run Warrington's way, but one lapse in concentration now, 1 drop ball, 1 penalty, and it's a plug hole job. Whatever, Mark Hilton. Thursfield, Teitzel, who's been brilliant all afternoon for the Warrington club. Tackled by Farrell. The ball is fed back for Davis to supply the clearing kick. I've got to start thinking about a man of the match for both teams. What a job that is. Here's Connolly. Connolly looking to bust the line. Alan Bateman there first to effect the tackle. If you've never been to a pro rugby league ground, this sort of thing is available all over the north of England now. Get out, set your mates, there's not a club that'll turn you away. Jason Robinson's looking to ride to headline. Greg Mackey exacts the tackle. Bit of kerfuffle at the play the ball. You can expect things to get white hot now. Here's Clark running into 3 Warrington tacklers, Hilton involved. Your commentator absolutely enthralled with a splendid encounter between the 2 form teams in the rugby league at the moment. Well, there's a communication breakdown in the Wigan attack. Jonathan Davis takes the ball. Frano Botica on the tackle. Tremendous rugby league. You couldn't split these teams now. Rob Myler evades a high shot from Panapa. Russ Smith letting the game develop. Russ Smith has had a brilliant afternoon, kept the game moving. There's Hilton once again on a drive. Both of these teams now have got blokes out there who can drop goals from 30-40 metres. No mistakes must be committed. There's Craig Teitzel once again, earning his money the hard way. There's Thursfield, Mackey, Shelford, not seen much of Shelford for a while. Looking to set up an attack there. Kick time for the Warrington club. Cowie on the tackle. There's Davis, lifts up the Skyer. Many First Division fullbacks have had nightmares about these kicks. Tremendous job, excellently taken. Frano Botica. Brilliant play there from Davis and Botica. There's Dennis Betts. Lee Penny's inserted himself into the line. Wigan being forced to play the game at the wrong end of the field now. Warrington have spent much of the afternoon on big defence. Barry John Mathers took a knock in the kidneys. Nick Cassidy comes away. Paul Cullen batters him. Davis involved. Let's have a look at the clock. 6 minutes, repeat 6 minutes. Score 6 apiece. Enthralling encounter on top-class British rugby league. It is kick time for the Riversiders. Or is it? Well, it should have been. Kelly Shelford supplies a crash tackle. Mike Gregory restarts proceedings. A converted score now for either team will put a stop to the game. Here's Gregory. Mackey. Forster comes in field. Crash tackle on that occasion. Andy Platt. Andy Platt's had an outstanding afternoon. Here's Ellis. I can't wait for 9 o'clock tonight to get in the pub and watch this again on Sky. Been a brilliant advert for rugby league. Everybody out there on that field, including the officials, deserves winning pay. John Thursfield taking the tackle there. Here's Mackey. One little flash of brilliance, one piece of inventiveness now can tip the game, and as I've said twice, I'll say it again, decide the Rugby League Championship. Bateman's put a grubber in. Bateman's steaming. It's panic stations, and a knock-on committed by a Wigan player, I believe. Russ Smith consults with the touch judge. Well, he's done nothing else wrong all afternoon, so I would assume that Russell's right there towards a penalty for the Riversiders. Penalty count 12-9 for Warrington. Scrum count 10-4 for Warrington. Scoreboard leads 6 apiece. And I'm sad to tell you, there's a stretcher coming onto the park. I would assume that's a knock in the kidneys that Barry John Mather took. So, a few minutes ago we saw Barry John Mather take a knock in the kidneys. Unfortunately, a stretcher has been called for. If our cameraman will pan left, I'll fill you in on the details. As it is, I'll recap the game. Opening try came in the 5th minute from Martin Afire. Next try on 68 from Foster. Score 6 apiece. It is Barry John Mather that's being shovelled onto the stretcher. Looks to have a knock in the kidneys, much the same as Greg Mackey took at the Knowsley Road ground against St Helens. When Mather took the knock, he did sort of stagger to his feet and went down again, so I wouldn't assume the injury is that serious. But obviously the medical staff take no risks. Superb backup facilities now enforced by the RFL at all major rugby league grounds. Barry John Mather, I'm sad to report, leaving the field on a stretcher. Now then, back to the business of the game. Wigan with a penalty right in the Fletcher Street corner. 6 apiece. We'll look at the clock. We have 3.5 minutes. We have 6 apiece. Still time for plenty of tragedy and drama here at Wilderspool Stadium. A draw wouldn't be a fair result, I've got to say. This game needs to be won by one team or other. Stuart Wilson whispers in my left ear it should be won by Warrington, but I don't suppose the neutrals would think so. However, there is the kick for touch. Wigan will have a set of 6 tackles right now. Look at that for a tackle. Ball's come out in the tackle. Kevin Ellis. Referee Russell Smith is absolutely correct. Somebody in the Warrington defence got over enthusiastic, nicked the ball. Let's have a look at the penalty count, the rare one for Wigan. Penalty count on my sheet, not the most accurate in the world, is 12-10 for the Warrington club. No more penalties must be conceded. Wigan edging within striking range, slowly but surely. I'm going to look at the clock once again, playing the biggest part. We're coming up to the 78th minute, 2 minutes to go, 6 apiece. Plenty of flyers on that pitch. The likes of Robinson, Davis, Forster, Myler, Afire, Panapa, Botica. They can all go the length of the field, one loose pass, and the game can be decided. There's Platt playing the ball at halfway. Here's Clark. Would be a heartbreaker now for either of these two teams to lose. There's Panapa, short ball for Dennis Betts, crossing and a forward pass. Russ Smith has spotted the indiscretion. Now will he award a penalty for crossing or a scrum down for the forward pass? He's awarding the penalty. Well, if Jonathan Davis kicks that, I will be very impressed. Another penalty for the Warrington club. Penalties go 13-10. Your commentator has seen many great games this season, including the one at Central Park last week. There was a great night here against the Halifax club, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the best match of the season so far. If you don't watch Pro Rugby League after watching a game like this, you never will. So then, here's Thursfield. This could be the last throw of the dice. I'm looking at the clock, less than 2 minutes on my Esso Garage stopwatch. Mike Gregory taking big shots there. This is just barely within drop goal range. It's a sticky pitch, a bit muddy. Craig Teitzel tries to stitch yards on. Warrington need the ball on the 20-metre line for the drop goal to be supplied. Would be a heartbreaker, but that's modern day rugby league fire. Both the coaches can be well pleased with their team's efforts. Look for the drop goal. Jonathan Davis is being put under pressure. Jonathan Davis kicks in goal. It's an anywhere job. Superb defence, Jason Robinson. Robinson normally gets headlines for length of the field tries to win games. He's just saved the game right there on defence. Tremendous play. Wigan then look to build long. But in the last minute, Wigan at the wrong end as far as they are concerned. Warrington trying to exert pressure defence. Score 6 apiece. The issue may not be resolved. There's Mick Cassidy on the end of a crash tackle from John Thursfield. Platt's coming on the run. Teitzel meets him in the tackle. Back to the man of the match business. For Warrington it will be Craig Teitzel. I'll get to Wigan in a sec. Here's a kick. Look at the clock. 10 seconds into injury time. Rob Myler collects in his own red zone. No risky passes will be thrown now, I can assure you of that. Well, all the pundits who have ranted on and on about Wigan for 6 years had been saying that Warrington couldn't match them. You've seen the performance on the field. Everything to be played for the rest of the season. Here's Mackey. Cullen looking down the Wigan team. I will pick out as their man of the match, Phil Clark. So man of the match for me, Phil Clark and Craig Teitzel. Warrington still trying to get the ball out wide to launch the runners. Hilton takes the tackle there. We're now deep into injury time. John Thursfield. Andy Farrell in the tackle. Thanks once again to all the associated sponsors who've enabled the game to take place. Congratulations to young Matthew Devine for picking such a great day to be the mascot. And a super kick rolls into touch there. Scrum count now, you can expect to go 10-5. Would be a shocker if one went against the head here. And this scrum should actually run the clock down. Thanks for watching this Micron video production. As I've already said, get out and watch some rugby league. Take your mates with you. Getting into a Premier League soccer ground now, you've got to mortgage the house, and you can be just as excited at a top-class rugby league game. There's a Fire taking a tackle there. Plays the ball. Wigan still looking to throw it about in their own red zone. An interception, a drop ball, a bit of crossing, anything within kicking range, and Davis will punish it. There's Dermott. I'm looking at the clock. 2nd minute of injury time. Clark bets. I'm looking for Russ Smith to raise his right hand and give the kick time sign. He's not doing so. It's going to be a draw. Or is it? Wigan still trying to force the opening. Davis in the tackle. Now it's kick time for the Riversiders. Long yardage needs to be put on. Clark with the kick. It's a tester. Rob Myler up to the test. Comes out running. Leaves one defender. Cuts inside. Still picking up yardage. We are deep into injury time. Do Warrington... Well, there's a knock on. The hooter still not coming. Paul Cullen's going to be penalised, and this is within kicking range. There you go. I'm looking at the clock. We're in the 82nd minute. Another 10 for chat back. That could be game ball for the Wigan club. What a heartbreaking way for the game to be decided. You've seen the passion, the drama, the heartbreak. You've seen the effort. You've seen two evenly matched teams. It's all come down to Russ Smith's interpretation. You decide whether he's right or wrong. Frano Botica will win the game for the Wigan club in the 4th minute of injury time. So, I've tried my best to keep a brave face on what has just occurred. But Frano Botica, well, if he misses this, I'll be really surprised. Warrington have battled. Botica approaches. The game is won for the Wigan club. Score goes 6-8 in the 84th minute. Well, there's the hooter. The game's up. No time for Warrington to come back. What a heartbreaking way for the Warrington club to have the point ripped from their grasp. I'll run through the game. We had a try in the 5th minute from a fire. Botica and Davis kicked penalties in the 20th and 60th. Mark Forster got a try in the 68th minute, and then the heartbreaking penalty from Frano Botica. Final score then, Warrington 6, Wigan 8. The press will proclaim that Warrington are dead and Wigan are going to win everything. But you've seen how closely matched the teams are. This is Bill Stewartson thanking you from Wilderspool Stadium.